out the essence of our peace upon the children of the sun who are here in consecration and devotion to the unifying cause of deliverance for all mankind. May we charge into your world this night from out the great central sun the full complement of the divine radiance. May we call you apart from domination of outer sense consciousness into the divine force field, magnetized by light and by love. May we urge upon you a release in your thought and feeling world of all that could cause you distress. And may we invite you to step into the paradise of divine perfection, the immortal consciousness of Almighty God. May we call now to beloved Kuthumi to render that cosmic assistance which he has promised. And therefore tonight, throughout our release of cosmic energy, a beautiful 70-string harp of cosmic dimensions will at inner levels accompany our words, conveying to you the harmony of Kuthumi and the brothers of the Golden Robe. By cosmic harmonium, we ask that the force field of your own cosmic Christ intelligence shall be in complete attunement with the mind of God, which framed all substance and created the beautiful symmetry of the Spirit of life itself. As I come to you this night in the name of the Eternal Father, I remind you that in mind and thought you can enter in to places of beauty beyond the dimensions of mortal substance. If tonight you could stand in your spirits and unite in consciousness with me over the blue waters of the Mediterranean, over the blue waters of the Pacific, over the waters of the Atlantic, or any of the huge watery bodies of the world, you would see below you the spume and the spray, the sunlight flooding the day with radiance, to which I commend you, the radiance that cometh out from the realm of Helios and Vesta. And if you could divest yourselves of the consciousness of the body, the mundane, the personal self, and plunge with me and the angelic host beneath the spray and spume, down into the beautiful, soft, velvety waters, penetrating the waters with the ease of a fish, you would find that as above, so below, there is a glory in the aquatic realm, which you could know by the power of entering into that realm, becoming one with it and identifying with it without fear of suffocation. I call then to your magnificent divine attention tonight that it is possible for every son of God, every son of heaven, to enter in to the consciousness of an ascended being in the same manner which man could easily enter in to the consciousness of nature herself in her myriad manifestations. Do you know that size and concept preclude man's entering in to the world of the flowers and the world of the gnomes, the world of the airy sylphs, the world of the fiery salamanders who dance in the living flame, and the beings of the elements in all of their magnificent glory, whereby they pirouette and dance to a music beyond the compassionate understanding of men. Therefore recognize that bereft of physical form and the restraining consciousness of the outer self, you could easily enter into the soft, velvety nature of a flower. Only your size prevents it. If you were able to reduce that size to the dimensions of the beings of the elements, you could lie your head gently against the stamen of a flower. You could enter into the cup and drink the nectar and perfume thereof, and recognize that beauty expresses through nature, which is not recognized because of the sense of ugly dimension, and what in reality to the beings of the elements is a form of distortion. I call then to your magnificent God attention to the divine self within, to realize that when one enters into the freedom of celestial realms, one is not wedded any longer to the body. The tether is broken, and the immortal soul, unlimited in size, is able to, so to speak, play tag with the Milky Way, reach up to the celestial balls of divine grace, and toy with them as God himself does. You would understand then in that dimensionless realm that one is able to rise out of mortal limitation and fear, that one is able to recognize the divine peer, the infinite grace that bestows upon life the abundance of flashing grace and symmetry, of an exchange of consciousness, which perforce will induce in the Blessed One, who can understand that this is no attempt at God to seduce mankind into an alliance which he does not desire, but rather is a gift of the infinite fire of cosmic Christ intelligence. The vicarious at-one-ment, the vicarious atonement is gone. The vicarious at-one-ment replaces it all. And man is able to perceive the exchange of atomic substance in his own realm, whereby the continual flow of the life essence in man is indeed the exchange of electronic substance, as all of the little tiny dancing electrons of the cosmic flame from the heart of God purvey their magnificent divine patterns into the thought and feeling world of all beings, of the angelic host, of the archangels, of cosmic beings, of the tiny beings of the elements, of mankind, and of all creatures, great and small, whom God hath made and does sustain by the essence of his ever-flowing light. This light, which is the sustaining power of all life, moves constantly through your beings, but is, precious ones, captured and trapped within the force field of man's thoughts, of mortal density, which does not permit them to freely flow out from his world, or permit them free entrance. Thus egress and entrance is denied, and by this the forces of life are stymied within the dimensions of man's thought and feeling world. I come tonight in the name of Almighty God, I, Cuzco, teacher of old, to show you how that by flow, as outlined in the concept of the god Meru, mankind can no longer be wedded to matter and substance, but can enter into what we will call a cosmic exchange program, whereby individuals can share in the atoms of the breath of the living Christ, whereby individuals can share in the cosmic Christ accomplishment of all those whom they admire. God has not intended that one Son of Heaven shall usurp the authority of all life and stymie mankind, that all men should pay mortal or immortal allegiance to one ascended being. God intends that all shall share in Christ's victory, and this is the concept of the ascended masters, which when once grasped by mankind forever denies the concept of competition and a search for all mankind the wonderful treasures of infinite joy that will pass through their consciousness with the fire of God, flowing, flowing, flowing throughout the universe, the return circuit of the immaculate love of God, the love that guided Mother Mary, the love that brought the wise men to the feet of the Christ, bringing gold, frankincense, and myrrh, the infinite power of the great white brotherhood that causes the garments of the brothers in white to be continually renewed because they are fashioned by the living electronic flame substance from out the great central sun. You are children of God and are destined and intended by God to enjoy the flow of his immortal life energy through thyself. Therefore stop all of the human foolishness and mortal nonsense that denies to yourself vicarious at-one-ment. Understand the meaning of vicarious at-one-ment. It is the life force exchanging through all souls, who then are able to enter into the cosmic Christ accomplishment of every part of life. Victory then becomes no longer denied to the smallest child of God and the one who is given but the one talent. For victory is given to all, and when everyone perceives victory fashioning its great lockets of cosmic golden substance out of the life energies of one individual, all individuals can rejoice and see the glory of God circling round the cosmic band of infinite light circles and creating ever new vistas of opportunity to all who will no longer then be denied the concepts of cosmic greatness, but share in the boons of heaven and the bestowals of the infinite light of the ascended masters. As I am speaking to you tonight, I have called to the great cosmic beings from out the great central sun, yea, and from the island of Madagascar, to flood forth at inner levels our mighty God feeling that sets you free forever from the concept that you are not accomplishing in God's name all that God intends you to do. You must recognize that an accomplishment for one life stream is the accomplishment of all. That the accomplishment of one life stream is the fulfillment of life's dream in all. That it is God, 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 God beating your heart. That it is the mighty divine I am presence that is starting within you the radioactivity of cosmic radiance, broadcasting love, 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 love out into the world, and taking no answer from mankind that forbids life to flow, taking from no one an answer, no, but saying to all, let flow that divine yes, I will respond to God, and heeding the call of your own divine I am presence to flood your world with the light of 10,000 suns, the light that flows as cosmic harmony throughout the universe and bestows mirth and worth and compassion bold, that causes all to understand and unfold the dignity of the divine man with cosmic joy, to ring the bells of life without alloy, to perceive the beauty of the seed that God has planted in the bruised reed of man, now in fashion of mortal shame, but called to freedom in God's name. I, Cuzco, child of the light and servant of mankind, servant of God, say to you all, the rod of power that has been given to you, that is your own spinal column, that is the central sun flame within that column, has the power to command your life energies to obey and to create an understanding that you are a ray of cosmic purpose thrust forth today and every day from the very heart of the Ancient of Days, sent forth into the world to expand love's rays and cause creation's praise to abound, abound, abound without fail. You have heard it said that the light of God does not fail. Then remember to stop it not, within the framework frail of mortal sense that denies his name. Say unto that sense, I am the flame that passes through. I am the flame that unites all mankind with the great divine you. The you from on high, the thou from the sky, the radiance of Theos, wisdom infinite, descending drops of golden flame substance out the great central sun, dropping down on every one, conveying life and strength and power, conveying radiance every hour. The bells of freedom are ringing tonight, and they are ringing all over the world with divine delight, and they are unfurling the power of Saint Germain's name and extending that which frees from pain and blame and shame and all that defames the God flame within. I am expanding now to win the love light from on high, to fashion armor from the sky that stops the bolts and arrows that fly from mortal thoughts that now defy. The pennant God has brought with freedom's banner bold. Hear ye now our word of old, and know and understand the purpose of thy life. It is to death defy and win immortal life. Won't you please be seated? Hear this now. For many a year we have come to this state in the person of your beloved messengers for cosmic purposes. They have been our instruments to convey to you understanding. There have been many incidents whereby individuals who have been permitted to hear these dictations have not recognized or understood all that has been done, and some have done that which they never should have done. But I would call to your attention tonight that the light that does not fail will one day show to all mankind that we will use those messengers of light whom we have chosen and do choose, not to confuse, but rather to employ light as an instrument of freedom. Hear you then this night, and understand that the God defense of every man that commands life to obey speaks to all to win their way through the dense effluvic fog that floods the minds of mortal men who have for so long thought in vain ruts of consciousness that they do not now understand that out of that they can arise. Hear then our word, and choose the way that from the skies bestows life and grace. God does not desire to see you puny and without strength or sense. God desires to see you have the best defense against all that is wicked in the eyes of God, against all that pulls man down and breaks the rod of mortal strength that lies within the domain of himself. God would give each man his sense of freedom to win and to defy all that does deny his victory. Understand then that by cosmic intent men can do a great deal to win for themselves by cosmic steel the power that overcomes all that does not feel divine grace in its mighty flow. For as David and Goliath in days of old did enter into mortal conflict, so did young David take his sling and blazed forth the light to find its mark upon the forehead of the giant bold, and down he went, no more to conquer, but a senseless gent. He lay upon the ground with no further malintent. Thus down shall go the walls of Jericho, down shall go the power of darkness and its chains, down shall go the psychic forces that have in vain muttered and peeped and caused mankind so much confusion that they have been as those who creep upon the ground of mortal delusion. Please understand then how that as we speak tonight, it is to help you achieve the flight of soul to go to that great divine goal which God stands and holds before your eyes every day and which so many do not see. The way so clear has been made, the way without fear, the way to pull down the shade upon delusion and see the beauty of the Son of God shining within the heart and creating no illusion, but only a feeling that now today I must start and mend all flaws of mortal confusion and receive the power of the laws that stop the sinister claws from piercing mind and being with the psychic feeling that does not see the light shining and beaming so bright within the mortal domain, the chalice which we would polish and cause to become the treasure house of the infinite soul, descending in man to make him whole, the light that cleans so bright the lantern flame within, and stops even the flight of the moth that surrounds the flame and otherwise would be burned. In God's own name, let's stop that foolishness of the mortal who spurns the flame within so bright and sees it not, because the dense night of mortal delusion keeps him in that senseless round of foolish over-concern and mortal confusion. Hear then the word of God that burns and etches in the soul the stamp of divine goal fitting and fittedness that weaves the way of peace and causes all to pursue it and to see that God will not fleece or strip mankind of aught but that which blinds and binds, and cause mankind to understand that fear is no part of the world of God, but only faith, the power to raise the rod and command life to obey, and watch the power of the Holy Spirit as it moves and demands that none should fear it, but only love the power of God that strips from man all the earthly clod and senseless bands of darkness. I, Cuzco, in the name of God, say unto you all, understanding is a gift of God. Understanding, which is a gift of God, is nigh thee. Therefore this night I ask you to forget the self and all of the passions of that self, and remember in place how that divine grace in actuality fills all space, and thus put the wire of your attention as the electrode of the old trolley cars upon that wire of divine and infinite cosmic grace, and let the energy of God flow through your being right where you are. You do not need to go to some far-off country or land, but right where you stand, there God is born and is not dead, as men are dead who are not fed the grace of God, the sacred Eucharist, the life essence, the purity, the flow, that which knows and is unafraid to wear the garments of the living Christ. You have heard, gracious ones, the message of the great divine director and the message of the karmic board. This has been made clear to you. But we are not concerned to fear, for we know that the love that is so near to every one of you will strip you of doubt and fear and generate in you Christ's magnificence, the power that can reach into the heart of God and demand your own immortal life. You must not permit yourself to be stripped of your cosmic inheritance by the trivia of mortal nonsense, gracious ones. You must defend and weld yourselves together as a body of God upon the planet. And you must go forth in his name to utilize the flames of divine intent and show to all mankind just what a people bent on doing the will of God can do. This message is not for the few. It is for the many. But the many are not yet ready to receive it, for they must be fed upon milk until the strong meat of spiritual comprehension can be given and conveyed and then obeyed, and the Aquarian age brought into radiant, vibrant, ever-living manifestation among men. Let death end its power over life, and let men perceive that it is by the Spirit of God that men are able to command all mortal substance to obey. And thus, you represent our best hope today. Upon this planet, you represent our best hope to hold up the talents of divine grace. And we have given and conveyed immense talent unto those who are welded together in the body of God, in the great white brotherhood, and in these activities of light. But what you shall do with the opportunity is not predictable in our octave, for we recognize full well that mankind have often come beneath the spell of all the frightful illusions of witchcraft, variance, strife, confusion, and psychic attacks which have been directed against the students of the light to stop them in their tracks. But it has no power. It has no power. It has no power. And if you will recognize that and will understand that you must be staunch and fervent and unceasing in your devotion to God, unceasing in your devotion to the principles of Christ's magnificence, you will comprehend that in this veil, that is to say your flesh, you can see God. I remind you of the beautiful couple who waited for the coming of the living Christ in the days of the birth of Jesus. I remind you of the man of God who held within his arms the wondrous promise of God in Messiah, who came into manifestation with his God flame, and before the altar was welcomed by that blessed man who said, "Now mine eyes have seen the glory of God." Thus did he close those eyes with God content and bring that life to a close, knowing that he had seen the salvation of God veiled in mortal flesh. You need not wait, precious ones, the moment of a rebirth in another physical form. You need not wait at all to be reborn, for out of the magnificence of the God flame of cosmic Christ intelligence that is within your beating hearts right now, you can draw the substance of God determination that will give you the very self-same vow that the Christ took as he descended into physical form and embodiment when he said, "Lo, I am come to do thy will, O God." And as you determine also to do the will of God, you can fulfill in just a short time all that God intended him to do. You can in 3 short years perform perforce a work that will magnify for all to view the possibilities of life. And I want you to know that if you will tonight take your vows to walk the path that Christ did walk, that God will look upon you and understand that vow and give you the self-same radiance descending right now which came to Jesus as he descended through the atmosphere of the planet. And so many sons of light will be magnificently carried to captivity, captivity to the heart of God, to the will of God, magnetization to the great central sun flame, and compassion for all that God desires to do for mankind. And because of this, not one but many sons of heaven will be born again to defend the law, born again to expand the love, born again to radiate as comfort's dove compassion to a blind mankind. And oh, precious ones, how it is needed, how regeneration and cosmic affluence and cosmic influence is needed to be expanded upon earth to counteract all the negative forces that are bringing to mankind so much dearth and destruction. I, Cuzco, say to the angels of record, seal now and write these names. Seal now these God flames. Seal now these devotees of radiant strength. Seal now these devotees who love at great length, and let them reach outside the circle of the finite self into the infinite realm and have the power to draw, remembering the law of the serpent that was lifted up in the wilderness. Even so shall the Son of Man be lifted up, and therefore I bestow upon you all who in truth and equality and cosmic fraternity before the altar of the great white brotherhood at Shambhala are this night to be sworn in to our cosmic band, if you will only accept it and understand that we are not limited as mankind seem to be, but have the power to set you free. And if you will accept it and not reject it, you will see a new opportunity dawning within the folds and recesses of consciousness, which will empty the contents of the old vessel and replace that vessel with a chalice of God happiness, God intent, and God strength. I cannot promise you that this will mean that you will walk and lead a charmed life. I can promise you the service of a cosmic Christ. I can promise you the service of the Christ below. I can promise you the internal resurgent glow of life that fires the spirit and brings victory to win. But I will say to you tonight, there will be some strain, some impulse, some activity of flow and involvement, a total immersion. But then out of that immersion, that descent into the baptism of the cosmic Christ, you will arise adherents to immortal life. And thus I say, be seated now. Out of the blue of the sky, out of the blue of the sea, out of the blue of God's will, O take, accept thou me. Consecrate thy flame by fire strong. Consecrate thy flame to live so long as God shall live, to render service as he did, and let the air respond to bear thee up. Ascension's power bestow, and give the cup the Christ did drink to all, and let them drink and understand the call that life has spoken to the soul, a glow initiatic in radiance, lifting pall and cutting cords of darkness, binding, blinding, keeping down. Oh, raise them all by love's complete compassion. Let fall the vestments of illusion. Strip them now, O Michael strong, and let them understand the way that's long but magnificent. Let them understand the way that's free. Let them understand the way God would have mankind to be. And thus, by example's power, from out the central flame, the sun within, thyself, thyself, thyself this hour, God will spin thy garment, and the sun itself will claim thee as its own. And the woman beauteous crown thee with the white stone of cosmic gifts and cosmic grace. Thy name renewed and given thee will be a name to set thee free, that no man knoweth, saving him who goes the way of service to overcome the foes that have denied him through the years the power of life that clears from all the records of mankind the stains and washes even those who are blind with sacred fire essence removing stain of scarlet, bane, and blame, and replacing it by strength and love that writes the law of God's delight within the inward parts of men. This is the hour to raise them then, and let mankind go free. For in the nucleus now to be formed, the seed shall be the golden stalk of lily pure. The calyx opens wide the door, and cups fragrance of pure love's delight within the consciousness so bright as flame within, surrounded by the precious power to win, becomes the Christ, the fragrance. Oh, so nice, so beautiful, so pure. It is the consecration men will feel as standing by the door, they see the door of freedom open wide and know that God within can never be denied. And so I, Cuzco, seal thee in God's flame. I, Cuzco, defend thy light before the sons of flame. And Sanat Kumara, here's thy vow. And gods and goddesses to thee do bow, because we see thee not as senseless, idiot life of energy and strife, but as a son of Father Flame, the fruit that falls not far from parent tree, the fruit of cross and crown that sets men free, that glows and goes to God's immortal destiny. Out of the holy mount I have spoken. Before the sons of the flame I have spoken. Before the 24 elders I have spoken. Before the cosmic Christ I have spoken. Before the 7 archangels I have spoken. Before the 7 mighty Elohim I have spoken. Before the all-seeing eye of God I have spoken, and the immaculate power of love which I have brought can never, never, never be broken. I, Cuzco, in memory of over 70,000 years, release the precious essence of my God flame to you this night as a token of my faith. I thank you. name of Almighty God, we return these flames to the great central sun, from whence they came. May they carry to the great central sun magnet, to the home of beloved Helios and Vesta, and beloved Alpha and Omega, the radiance of our love for the graces that Almighty God has bestowed upon us all. In awareness of the immortal love that the great Master Cuzco has bestowed upon us this night, I urge all to contemplate and meditate on the solemnity of this occasion. I recommend to you all that you should be seated for perhaps 15 minutes, during which time there should be no movement at all, but only contemplation of what the Master has said. While I recommend this, I do not force it upon anyone. I hope that everyone will do it. Therefore, I ask you to be seated. Did you know, precious ones, that in the moments preceding my coming, rays of cosmic light appeared in this room and the outer rooms, and that through the beautiful folds of light, the air was filled with descending spiritual white camellias. This symbol of purity and heavenly culture is intended to predict in consciousness for mankind the age of divine culture, once again returning under the symbol of Aquarius. Gracious ones, I unfold one of heaven's simple mysteries which many have not understood. I reference the sealing of the sons of God within their forehead and their right hand. The sealing of the forehead is the protection of the mind by divine effort and divine intent, by individuals' persistence in the pathway of right against the intrusion of every thought that is not from the divine presence, and the acceptance of every God idea the implanting of divine ideas within the mind, thus creating the beautiful place where the Lord can manifest the fullness of himself. This is the place where the Lord lay, is the mantram to hold the thought of the white camellia, the thought of the immaculate culture of divine grace and Christ radiance. As I come to you this morning, it is then to show you how to create the sealing of God within the forehead, the place where thy God shall lie. Absorb this thought, precious ones, as it descends on the radiance of your divine presence and the hierarchy of the great white brotherhood into the world of form, into your dimension. Remember that every word of God that you contemplate in your mind will contribute to the sealing of your forehead. Every thought of grace and happiness, every thought of natural beauty, every thought of divine origin will create in you the sealing of your forehead. Thus have we given the key. The sealing of the right hand. The sealing of the right hand is the understanding that the energy drawn forth by the individual from God is given for the sake of accentuating good works. Therefore thy right hand is thy shield and protector. And the sealing of the right hand is done by cutting off from one's consciousness all that is destructive and creating in its place all good works. The sealing of the right hand, then, is the performance of the works of God upon earth. The works of God upon earth are produced because the mind is fruitful to remember the thought of the white camellia, to remember the thought of the place where the Lord lay, to remember then the Creator in mind, and to permit thy right hand to be sealed by divine action. The simple thoughts embodied in these two concepts have escaped mankind because they have become overly mystical without understanding the practicality of the Ascended Master's octave. The Ascended Masters are practical men, and we are determined to assist you in the working out of divine destiny upon this planet. You have heard it said that one could put to flight 10,000. Know then that the power of your example in the world of form, when you submit and invoke the sealing in the forehead and the sealing in the right hand, will become intensified, so that men may notice you, and you may be outstanding in their minds, thus becoming targets for human malice to a degree. But you will have the protection of the sealing, which is a quality of protection beyond any other quality which has ever been given to the students before. The quality of the sealing of God in the mind is a power that will draw such radiation into your world of a permanent nature as you have never before experienced, for it will be a positive cut-off through the power of habit matrices, which cannot be intruded upon by any outer force. this law was given to St. Paul at one particular time in his inward spiritual experience. He did not, however, bring this forth to mankind at large in his writings, choosing to ponder it in his heart, and recognizing that although the idea was simple, many would not fully be able to grasp it or carry it out in the world of the then relatively uneducated Christian. For many people in that time who were coming into the light were craftsmen and were tradespeople who did not understand the letters of the law as the scholars did, nor were they able to grasp the fullness of some spiritualized and cultural concepts. With the passing of time, and as the centuries rolled by, more and more men of letters came into the field of religion and culture became wedded to a greater degree. Now in this time, when the world has reached the apex of the current world culture, there is a need for returning to the simple protections of the cosmic law, which will enable men to move in sanity amid others who are emanating in ignorance the vibratory action of mortal discord, pain, and affliction. It is the intent of the ascended masters of the Great White Brotherhood to create an invulnerable wall of white fire protection as the infinite light of God around all of the students of the light who are determined to be sealed against the intrusion of mankind's efforts to unseat them from the throne of grace which they desire to occupy. Grace is a quality of light, and it is a quality which, precious ones, emanates into your world. And as it emanates into your world, it can be seized and posited there, so that you cannot be unseated by mortal concepts or activity. Unfortunately, so many of the students from time to time in the past have builded up a tremendous momentum of forward movement, only to encounter some sinister activity which was directed against them, and then find that in the struggle which subsequently occurred to recover their balance, there was a loss or a seeming loss of the vital energies of accomplishment which formerly they had enjoyed. We want you to know that every student of the light who has stood with Saint Germain and your beloved Jesus, and who has taken their stand down through the years, shall be given every possible protection and benefit which the great cosmic law can afford. There are those who have circulated the idea, at least within the emptiness of their own mind, that the ascended masters are not really concerned with mankind. And perhaps I might in honesty say that this stems from personal doubts in the worlds of the students as to our reality. We know that this is but a projection of doubt from the human cesspool of doubt, but because mankind are moved at times by the subtle manifestation of this doubt, we are determined today to reiterate our faith in you and our faith in the presence of life that is within you. We are determined to acknowledge the presence of grace within your being. We are determined to acknowledge that this presence of grace has brought us to a state where our love for you is multiplied almost without limit. You can rest assured that when you determine within the precincts of your own heart and mind to serve the mighty light of God, that heaven will acknowledge it. In our acknowledgement of the momentums of your life stream that are constructive, there will come into manifestation within your mind a certain firmness, which actually is a quality resembling temper in steel. Do not let anyone misconstrue what I have said to be an excuse for exhibiting qualities of human temper or temperament. But remember that we are concerned with developing the true tempered manifestation of life in the students of the light, which will enable them to take their stand and exercise their divine authority and the power of the light rays that are within them for the defense of the spiritual way of life against all intrusions whatsoever. It is not enough, precious ones, to merely cut yourselves off from the world, and then, because you are not exposed to the vanities of the world, and your life seems relatively smooth, to suppose that you have obtained your victory. That which is victory within men must be tested, and you must learn to challenge life and to be victorious in the very heat of the battle. There are those who can stand in the garden of God when all conditions that are created around about them are to their liking. But when they are out in the world of form and are subjected to the pressures and disturbances arising therein, succumb to the self-same attitudes of mind which are manifesting in the larger world. This is not the plan of the Divine One, nor the ascended masters, for we are determined that you shall move among men as Christ did in Judea, and that you shall manifest those superior qualities of cosmic culture which will be the hope and light of the world today. Long ago, the blessed masters have walked among men in physical embodiment, but today they stand at inner levels of cosmic accomplishment to bestow upon you below the full grace of their cosmic momentums, that you in their stead may walk among men, defending the faith and the vows which you have nurtured and nourished, and comprehending that the battle of life is to be won. We do not want any of the students to accept the idea that simply because the world is in peril, that we expect you to lie down and say there is no need for hope, for faith, for the externalization of cosmic principle. I say to you that the hope is greater now than ever before, and the need is greater. For if we can penetrate the human consciousness with the awareness of life and its meaning, we can draw out from the world matrix and from the body at large, from that great sea of humanity, any number of individuals who will also come to recognize the need to seal themselves against the intrusion of the powers of darkness and the shadowed concepts which today engulf the world and have threatened and imperiled all life. There is then a great and real need, that which I shall call, in memory of the white camellia, a royal need for mankind to intensify all of their light activities. Do you know, precious ones, that the sinister force wants to frighten mankind into a state of inertia? Do you realize that they use and harness the concept of boredom and project boredom at the students under a direct ray? Are you aware of the fact that they create what we call a stupefying ray and project that into the mind of mankind and the students to try to create a numbness which prevents greater awareness from dawning within the consciousness? Well, I say, let us dispel that ray today. Let us show you the meaning of a God-clear mind. Let us call now to the angels who came with this display of white camellias, which descended in actuality from the great divine director's level. And let us determine that we shall clear the minds of those who hear our voice of the accretion of their own substance, that substance which has plagued them as a plague of darkness. To us, it is reminiscent of the time when Moses stretched forth the rod and created a thick darkness that could be felt in the world. We want you to know that the power of light, the power of the ray of light, is to dispel darkness, to bring light into the world, and to create in the mind the clarity of comprehension of the laws of God, which will enable you to walk with certitude along the spiritual pathway, knowing that that pathway is intended to be victoriously won and traversed by every son of heaven. Understand then that as we are speaking to you, we are increasing and stepping up the tempo of the light rays which we are bringing down, and the camellias now are accumulating beneath your feet. I trust that you will not trample upon them as you arise at the end of this class, but will understand that they are there as substance of white fire and beauty from the very heart of God. I trust that you will understand that instead of trampling upon them, you will consciously draw them upward into your heart and mind, into your feeling world, and absorb the white fire core, the substance of those blessed releases of infinite beauty and God direction. Recognize then, precious ones, that as we come to you this morning, it is with a charge of ascended Master radiance and ascended Master love, that it is with a charge of ascended Master light, and it is with God determination to vacate from your world the shafts of darkness which have been projected and, unfortunately, builded around a white fire core which has been stolen, blessed ones, from life streams who have sought the spiritual path and have failed. Recognize then that there is a certain responsibility on the part of the student body to call for every ounce, every erg of light energy that is ever released from the heart of the presences of all mankind, and that quality of God which is released as light rays shall be always called back to the heart of God, and shall not ever be allowed or permitted to be requalified and misqualified by the so-called brothers of the shadow. The forces of negation upon the planet are ever on the alert, and far more so than many of the students are, to seize upon every release of vital energy and then requalify it and use it for the impediments which they cast into the pathway of the students of light. Do not think for one moment, precious ones, that when you are upon this path, that it will be simply a bed of roses where you can just ride straight into the halls of a spiritual Valhalla. We want you to know that this is a pathway where the battle is indeed won by perseverance and recognition, by determination and by God fortitude. If you are to have God fortitude, as this blessed messenger told you, you must understand the great need to build up within yourself those divine qualities which are reservoirs of infinite grace. Please understand, precious ones, that the statement which is made among the Christian church that individuals are all prayed up has within it both a good and an evil quality. When individuals feel that because they have served the light for a certain number of hours in holy prayer, that they are indeed prayed up, this is a tendency created by the sinister force to cause them to let down and to feel that they no longer need or require to have contact with their divine presence. But there is a certain righteous idea in it, which embodies the concept of individuals actually building a reservoir of light. Therefore, learn to look at all concepts with a view to understanding both the negative and positive aspects of those concepts. When you are able to do that, you can deny in toto the negation, and you can receive the blessedness of the positive quality which God has placed within ideas. The razor-sharp edges of the mind must be indeed whetted against the stone of your holy Christ self. And you must recognize that while this is the stone which the builders rejected, it has the power of making your mind indeed alert to all of the conditions that are going on around you. Do you realize that during this class, there have been individuals sent into the class that did not stay, who were actually forced out by the power of light, but who came in there in order to perform acts of witchcraft, which they designed from inner levels of darkness to create a problem which would prevent this class from manifesting all of the God intent for the blessed students of the light and those who so much desire to have their freedom. As I come to you today, charged with that mighty ray of light, and as I have intensified that ray of light, I am now determined to call all of the angels of white fire from the very heart of the great central sun to blaze into this place and into the matrix which I am creating, a tremendous and transcendent radiation that will actually cut you free from a great deal of the pressures of darkness. Realize, however, that as I am doing this, for some individuals, there will be a certain feeling that you might call a bit of uncomfortability. We apologize for this, for others will receive a tremendous charge of white fire radiance from the very heart of their being that will cause their consciousness to expand like a balloon to the point where they feel it will almost burst. But I assure you that it will not burst, precious ones, but that expansion can and will become permanent when you recognize the need to posit within your world all of the radiation of the ascended masters and take it for your own. You must claim divine qualities. You must claim the power of a ray of light for yourself if you will penetrate the fastness of darkness. For the fastness of darkness is created by human effluvia and the accretion of man's substance, which piles up as rubble in the world of the human and has for many, many centuries been the cause of almost all of the nefarious activities recorded in history which have caused so much pain to mankind. Rulers, leaders, and masters of darkness have continually fed upon the substance of decaying concepts, and as they have absorbed that substance into their feeling world, they have gone on to externalize tyranny in the world, and thus were tyrants born. But we are not concerned too much with that, for that is indeed prologue, and the hour is come when the light of God shall claim its own. And as that light claims its own, many shall escape from the rounds of earth. The concept, one shall be taken and another left, should also occupy the consciousness of the aspiring chelas for the light. You should not despair too much concerning those who may be identified with you in family and circumstances. Remember that these attachments were formed merely in a matter of moments in some cases, whereas in other cases they have taken longer to form. But those concepts, precious ones, which formed so quickly in the space of earth-time, are meaningless beside the great attachments of the soul for its divine source. Do you realize that you were resident, all of you, within the very heart of God in the beginning, long before he formed the individual partitions of himself and separated you into individualized qualities? Recognize then that God desires that the sense of individuality shall cease in the sense of separation, and that men shall feel and possess their own individuality at the same time while they realize their collective self-actuality. Therefore, I say now to the angels of white fire, release thy substance. Expand, expand, expand the white fire ray of light within each life stream. Expand, expand, and expand the white fire ray of light within each life stream. Expand, expand, expand the ray of light within each life stream, and let all feel and know the power of the I Am Presence that is beaming out its transcendent rays of hope to the world. Hope that feeds the very living soul within and expands the sacred Eucharist and the concept of oneness until the very essence of God, flowing through all life, is the compassion, the compassionate tide that will bear men back to their divine source with the laurel of victory upon their brow. Oh, be sealed right now. Be sealed in vow. Be sealed in stillness and in silence. Be stilled in victory and in truth. Be stilled in law's outpictured proof that right is might and will protect. Let none at any time defect, but ever see the radiance pure that from their soul will make secure their walk and talk with presence true, their walk and talk with God right through the veil of substance, illusions bold that have to soul denied the goal. For far too long has wrong held sway. I come by light right now today to feed the sheep of God and plead for balance in this day of need. Oh, hear the light within thy soul the flashing of God's beacon goal, and understand divine intent to cut you free and show the bent of arrow shaft so strong and true that blazes through as bolt of blue to unify and make you true. Irae o light, thank you for your attention upon your divine self. And I ask that you rest in the arms of God in thought. Au revoir. May I suggest, as this melody increases in sound, that you begin to draw up the substance of the white fire camellias now from beneath your feet, and ask the divine presence to charge that substance into your world, and let none of it remain upon the floor to be trampled upon. as I address your divine presence and come into your midst, it is bearing in my hand a golden lily, a lily so exquisite that in my heart I cannot escape the passing longing to have you see it. Similar to a calla lily, as it comes from the green stalk, denoting the rising pulse of life. It has a little white at the bottom, gradually blending into gold, until at the top, where the calla unfolds, where a flower is normally white, it is as spun and beaten gold. I carry this cup wand of purity in order to offer it to each life stream, reminding each life stream that the concepts of God in his heart and mind were in the very beginning filled with holy wisdom to convey the ray of infinite purity, which would, from the day of creation, the day ye were first made, have enabled all to taste daily the balm of God happiness and to drink the elixir of immortal life. All is not lost. The day and the night of being have come, but the days of Almighty God are endless in their radiant procession. I carry with me and in my retinue numerous banners of freedom. And I honor tonight the freedom of the Prince of the House of Rakazi, your own beloved Saint Germain. I honor him as a son who has been well God-taught in the spiritual order of the cosmic priesthood to understand the secret and the secrets entrusted only to those worthy to be called initiates indeed. By the rod of infinite power, I desire tonight to extend assistance unto those who have come here. Because if ye have come, you have come either because your hearts are empty or because your hearts are full. If empty, ye are indeed hungry to have your heart cup filled. If you are full of divine grace, you are willing to have it run over. And thus, as I come tonight, it is to deliver to you some of the knowledge of the brotherhood, which it is their desire to express, that you might have a release of the power of the light into your midst as clarification's ray, and to create an understanding of your own reason for being here, for being a part of the life waves of this planet, and knowing how you can, with hope ensconced upon your brow, continue in the pathway of light and light's perfection. I wish to draw you very close to me tonight, and I wish that you would hear every word with the inner ear. Unfortunately, as we deliver ourselves of the mighty tides of truth which flow into the world of mankind, preconceived notions like jutting rocks in the stream of our word flow are brought into the fore of mankind's attention as concepts which long ago should have been dislodged. Knowing, however, that in this audience there is a mixture of those who are half saint and yet waiting the cleansing process, whereas others feel themselves to be, to a certain marked degree, a bit unworthy of all that has been given, we understand with divine compassion how that you, as children of the light, and children who seek to be children of the light, could well have varying opinions. Cast them aside. Do not be concerned with your own personal opinions, for if you do, it will cause an interference in the flow of that which we seek to convey. As you are no doubt aware of, you are living in times of great peril to all mankind. This peril in recent weeks has been multiplied. For the bulwark of spiritual power built up by the children of light and of spiritual love, which has served as a dike to hold back the dam of the karmic avalanche, has reached a point where its walls are crumbling simply because there is insufficient support within those walls, hallowed though they be by the bodies, minds, brains, and beings of devotees who would give themselves gladly for humanity in order to stop that flood tide. Even as the little boy put his finger in the dike, so they would place their whole body there if they thought they could assuage the karmic avalanche, which is poised now and waiting to be released upon humanity. As many of you probably know and are aware of, and as others do not know, there now exists upon this planet, and I hope that you will not be too shocked, blessed ladies and gentlemen, any number of individuals who, according to the pact of Faust, would gladly sell their soul to Satan, doing his bidding and serving his cause. Never before in the history of this planet have so many embodied individuals committed themselves so carelessly to the nefarious powers of darkness as in the present day. I allow this to the circulation of many pacts and manifestos in printed form, which are released today into the marts and bookstalls of the world, teaching the laws of blackness and of the left-handed path, which does not lead to God. Because these individuals have entered into such pacts which they truly are not fully aware of, for they do not understand nor have a realization of that which they do. And like Judas in the time of Christ, the call of the lords of karma for them is often, God forgive them, for they know not what they do. Yet these individuals have multiplied within recent months, and some of them are the very young upon the planet, young and in some way desiring to follow the cult of personality, whereby they will, through a means which to them seems effortless, achieve both recognition for themselves and a form of control over their fellow men. In a spirit of rebellion, they have entered into satanic pacts, and they have received contact with the powers of iniquity and of darkness upon this planet. Yet, as you well know, these powers have no power except that which mankind give to them. However, with 3.5 billion life streams drawing energy from God every day, and as you have been told, less than 1% of them understanding and praising God as they ought, you can well see how that the sea of misqualified energy now rising as a flood tide upon this planet is very great, and how that sea of misqualified energy can easily be tapped and appropriated through forms of hypnotism, hypnotic control, and many types of control which mankind have learned to exercise upon one another. Individuals are bringing others under their power and dominion. Many of those who are brought under the power and dominion of others are completely unaware of it. They are lured by the siren voices within themselves, their own untransmuted substance, and thus the misguided ones and the misguided are many and are multiplying at a tremendous rate. I do not with joy bring you this report, but I cannot in honor bring you another. For one must learn in all times to assess the truth in a correct manner. There are many today who would have themselves become ostriches, putting their head into the sand and not reading the handwriting that is appearing upon the wall of life. We cannot do this. We dare not. We must speak the truth, for in our octave nothing else is ever spoken. Unascended mankind have many ploys which they use to deceive themselves. And because of these ploys, they are often placed in a very compromising position. But the hour of judgment is upon mankind because of the mass accretion of the world's spirit of disobedience. Disobedience is particularly today being brought into the world through pornography. And we are grateful that efforts are being made in your own state, blessed ones, to curb the tremendous tendency to corrupt the youth of the world by so-called pornographic art. We are certain that you today who are here understand full well the significance of art when it is incorrectly used. For when you deal with art, you are dealing with images. And when you deal with images, these images are keys. I remind you now, most solemnly, that the keys that you fit into the locks of your cars and your homes are notched according to a specific design. And whether mankind are aware of it or not, there is a signet of darkness that can be created in so-called art, which will key in the consciousness of the beholder the vile images and tracings which bring about a rupture in the auric envelope and the inflow of putrefying substance from the astral world. Why do you suppose, blessed ones, you have had such a tremendous sweep of murder across the face of this nation? I tell you, it is the result of these ruptures which come into the aura of individuals carrying the vile substance of hatred and hate creations. Do you know, precious ones, that countless individuals possess so much irritation in their world that they can scarcely sit still even for a moment? They are unable to still the body, and the mind to them is seething as the raging sea. These individuals are often suffering from what amounts to fits of darkness, melancholia, and depression. They are restless and disturbed. Their hearts are troubling them, and they are afraid but will not admit it. They often display to mankind an appearance of braggadocio, but they are within very frightened. And because of this fear, they often go out into the world of form and seek to prove to themselves that they have the courage to do an evil deed. There are many subtle traps that are laid for the youth of the world. And I tell you, if parents today were aware of how these subtle traps invade the privacy of their own sons and daughters and steal into their minds with the serpentine qualities of destruction, which spread hatred and fear and darkness and shadow and shame across the world, they would certainly be interested in doing something about it. But unfortunately, blessed ones, throughout the world today, in the domain of religion, not only would my words be discredited, but individuals would even tell you that I was a figment of this messenger's imagination. Or they would tell you that I had no reality and no power, but that this activity was only a strange cult which they themselves could not countenance. But I think that you full well understand how that men speak out of an ignorance about subjects that they know nothing about. They have been taught traditionally, and they have accepted from early childhood certain concepts which prove nothing except that they can hold to those concepts that seem to them to be popular and to raise them in the esteem of mankind. And they would not for a moment become identified with any band of disciples that would be seeking a higher way of life. Therefore, in one sense of the word, precious ones, there has come about an invasion of religion itself by the powers of darkness, which seeks to lull to sleep the mankind of this planet and to accept as unchangeable the problems of the youth of the world. These problems are not solely the problems of the youth, for all types of mental problems arise in people of all ages who cannot still the mind in this restless world where true culture is now becoming rapidly unknown. Therefore, with this tremendous tide of blackness, with the continual release of that which you will call horror movies into the world, there is keyed into the world of form an activity of utter darkness, witchcraft and variance, strife and voodoo, incantations and necromancy, things for which the church in times past did burn the innocents at the stake. Yet today they permit in the world of form all of this viciousness and do nothing about it except to offer their platitudinous prayers into the ethers. Whereas the need now is for vigilance as never before. The sons of heaven must become aware of pristine holiness, of pure truth, of righteousness, of laws upheld by men in the name of cosmic honor. In this day of strife and confusion, there is no room in the inn of divine men's being for the negative forces and psychic forces of the world. You cannot live, precious ones, if you are victimized by astral entities who seek to steal what light you have simply because they have little of their own, and that is waning. Understand then that in one sense of the word, the astral realm has forced its own rupture into the world of mankind. And that which has been sown in this world in the years of recent date is an activity of which many are guilty. Yet it is not the will of God or the ascended masters to permit the downfall of society or of the world form. But we want you to know that the accumulation and accretion has risen higher than ever before in history. In fact, it was only 75% this high when the decision was made to overthrow, in the time of Noah, the civilizations then existing. The concepts of Nimrod had reached into the hearts of the people, and they desired to seek for material pleasures exclusively, and thus it came about that the activity of the flood descended. You must understand, gracious ones, that in every time when destruction has come forth unto mankind, it has been because of ignorance and because of a perpetuation of ignorance. Now I would like to call to your attention that certain forces of evil are attempting, while I am speaking to you, to introduce themselves into this room. They are attempting to stop this messenger from speaking the truth which is being declared to you. They desire to perform a nefarious activity so that we cannot complete our message. I am certain you realize that in our octave there is no lack of power. There is no lack of the power to reach through. But you must realize, precious ones, that the strain upon the four lower bodies of the messengers is very great, and you must seek to uphold them in your thoughts, not to tear them down, to find flaws in their work, or to degrade them, but to understand that the service is one of great light, but one that is fraught with a certain inward delicacy that requires the utmost concentration of the moment, fighting off the thoughts of the mass mind in the world at large, fighting off the thoughts and rejecting them in the room where the message is spoken, and holding a single-eyed attunement with our octave of light under sometimes great duress and tremendous psychic attacks which are launched against the messengers in order to prevent the flow into the world of form of the radiation of our light and the divine intent, and hinder it from manifesting the fullness of the blessing which we are determined shall go through in the name of Almighty God. The time has come when we must clear up certain circumstances in the world of form and create a better understanding on the part of the student body concerning the tremendous responsibility of serving our cause in this day. Your beloved El Morya has been constantly under attack recently by individuals who have impugned his good name and have sought to bring him into disrepute. I say today, in the name of Almighty God, it has no power, and it shall not stand, and they shall not pass. And those who have attacked Morya shall find one day that when they stand face to face with him, that he is indeed Lord of the first ray, Chohan of the first ray, and magnificent master of mankind's destiny, pouring out the will of God into the world of form with all of the diligence which he can muster. And I know, for I have served with him, and I have watched how he has struggled for and on behalf of mankind in every way to create in the Darjeeling Council a climate of supreme realization for the sake of the brotherhood of man for humanity. I thank you for your tribute to our beloved El Morya, and I say to you that the masters of heaven stand shoulder to shoulder as ye do in this audience, and we will not be moved. We will stand. Let men attempt it. They shall not fail. Let the powers of darkness attempt it. They shall not fail. For I am calling to the angels of blue lightning in my band to surround this place now with the inviolate power of the blue lightning angels. I am calling for them to flood and flood and flood this room with their wonderful light, the light of the cosmic acolytes. Yes, cosmic acolytes. For these blessed beings who serve thus are in one way those angels of first-ray substance, often beginners in the service of the light. And did you know that they do indeed render a valiant service? For the first-ray angels serve on the first ray that they may learn the power of cosmic defense against the negative forces that they must later deal with when they are subsequently, in some cases, moved to other rays to serve and to assist. This is a splendid service. Will you please be seated, ladies and gentlemen? I wish now to return to the various activities that are currently creating so many problems for mankind. You are not all aware of it, but certain individuals in this room are working at inner levels to clear the astral realm of these powers which mankind have formed by the misuse of energy in the astral realm. Some of these individuals work and serve long hours into the night for the freedom of mankind. Yet, unfortunately, others can scarcely give an hour and a half, or 2 hours to the service of the light. This indicator of a man's desire should cause those who possess qualities of non-dedication to recognize that if they would be a part of the vanguard of light's perfection upon earth, then the law requires that they shall examine themselves not with a critical eye, but with a spiritual eye, and decide as to whether or not they are indeed holding back a great portion of their divine energies which could well be engaged in the service of the light. Examine yourself. Be honest. And then if you decide to serve our cause, rededicate yourself to it. For today is a day of immense peril. I want you to know that the murders which occurred this year throughout this land were linked to an activity of horror and psychic destruction, and that there is a very real tie to that activity which took place in Texas and that which took place in Chicago and in other parts of the land. And I want you to know that mankind need and require defense against those powers which do great harm to the world at large, far beyond the manifestation of that which occurs in a city and the seeming wanton destruction of life. It is not just the destruction of life, precious ones. It is the heinous activity of drawing blood from living bodies and then causing the astral entities of darkness to gather as insects of destruction around that place, and then spread as leaven raises bread the awful evil of their doings into unsuspecting individuals. I am speaking plainly tonight, not in order to perpetuate that which I am speaking about, but that you may understand the need to reinforce the bulwarks of vital life in your society, to protect at inner levels that which the police departments and the various associated agencies cannot do, for they are not able in most cases to understand all that is taking place. They are aware that there are aberrations. They are aware that there are distortions. They are aware that forms of insanity manifest. But again and again, they have convicted these individuals in courts of law and proven that they were sane at the time that they committed these deeds. What then is acting, precious ones, in their world when the courts themselves do prove and the doctors do avow by all of their knowledge that the individuals are sane? Do sane people perform insane acts, I ask you? What type of aberration is acting in their world? And where is the moral thought of righteousness? Is it not a distortion of black magic and of witchcraft? Are you aware of the fact that there are any number of focuses in this country of these powers of darkness? Do you know what is going on in Manhattan, in New York? Do you understand what is going on in Louisiana, in the Bayous? Do you understand what is going on in Haiti and Cuba? Are you aware of how destructive forces are projected against America and against the American people? Do you understand how that right here in your own Hollywood, certain powers of darkness have taken over the minds of the individuals who control that industry, in many cases causing them to produce pictures for profit which have no value whatsoever to mankind, in our opinion, lacking even entertainment value? Are you aware, precious ones, that individuals go to and attend these cinemas in order to be maimed, in order to suffer as a form of masochistic action in their own world? They do not even enjoy what they see. Are you aware of the number of individuals today who have perished from the screen of life simply because some individual was a witness to Psycho? Do you know how that this activity has brought images of horror into the world? And are you aware of the number of machinations which occur at high levels, forming cartels to defraud the people of this land of the substance that they require to feed their families? Are you aware of political corruptions behind the scenes, which feed slush funds into the hands of mankind and deprive the people of that which they require to feed their families, in order that distortion could come into the world of form? For these individuals, precious ones, feel that what they are doing is legitimate and proper for themselves. They are not aware of all that is taking place. They do not realize that their activities, precious ones, do create all of this psychic horror. They do not realize that economic horror is produced and inadequacies, and that the cities themselves are not spared as the result of this misuse of energy. Several months ago, and in the recent past, outbreaks of violence have occurred in this community. That which occurred in Watts was brought to your attention by beloved Jesus before it ever occurred. And I tell you now, here in Los Angeles, where we have given the voice of a more sure prophecy, that conditions in the world today have reached a point where the karmic board has withdrawn all restraint from the beings of the elements. This means that the mankind of earth today do not know from one minute to the next just what the elementals will do. At first, this may seem to you to be a very strange activity, but it is a decision based upon the preservation of eternal values as weighed against temporal values which have themselves decayed. I shall clarify. The life of mankind, the temporal life, must be laid down. The reason for its tenure in toto is that men should find God. Men are so immersed in materialism and in the pursuit of darkness that they are not finding God. The calls and prayers of the students of light to protect the coastal regions of this land and to protect Europe and to protect other parts of the world has been heeded by the cosmic karmic board. And mankind have actually been benefited by the calls of the righteous men upon this planet. But now has come the time, precious ones, when they may call and the board cannot answer. For a certain period of time, a dispensation has been granted at the request, the righteous request, of both the Darjeeling and Indian Council for the will of God to be made known. And the will of God has clearly delineated that if the present course is to be pursued, the entire planet would of necessity be blotted out of the planetary chain, and those righteous individuals who are here be removed to other evolutions. Inasmuch as there remains one shred of hope for mankind, that when the forces of elemental life are unleashed, and when certain destructive elements in mankind are released and unleashed without restraint, that mankind may then awaken and decide for themselves that they will cancel out the product of their own corrupted imaginations, we have recommended that this shall occur for the sake of mankind and for the preservation of their immortal soul and the preservation of immortal value. I trust that those of you who have a mind to apply your hearts to your own divine presence will comprehend what has taken place. This is not a desertion of the world by Almighty God and the ascended masters. It is the effects manifesting in the world of form of a desertion by the mankind and mass of the world of Almighty God. And when the law is continually disobeyed and the law is not honored by men, there is simply an accumulation which keeps piling up. At the present time, I would call to your attention a certain thing that took place during the time Admiral Richard Byrd went to the South Pole. How many of you are aware in this room that he builded certain buildings there, intending to have them a permanent focus so that he could return for later explorations, When he returned, he found over 40 feet of ice had covered those buildings, thus showing that the buildings were under the ice and that this mountain was indeed piled up, ice upon ice, snow upon snow. Are you aware of the weight of tons of ice covering an entire continent? Do you know the meaning of that weight of ice, precious ones, when it concerns landed areas of such vast extent as to dwarf many other continents? I call to your attention, precious ones, that when he returned at a later date, he found over 80 feet of ice had engulfed the buildings which he subsequently placed there. Ponder the effect of this upon the earth, and understand that this beautiful globe, so stable in its course through space, could in a given instant be tipped by the great pendulum of life. You certainly are aware, beloved ones, of the scientific knowledge concerning the age of the earth. You are aware of the wrongness of that scientific knowledge, but you are also aware that there is a certain right knowledge which mankind have assessed concerning the ice ages of the past. Do you suppose, precious ones, that the power of nature, when unleashed, could not bring about a swift and sudden destruction to this planet? Do you not suppose that the very ground could heave and move with such power, such awesome power, as to actually defy the power of man's imagination who have never witnessed it? Well, we have witnessed it. We have seen in other ages how that there was unleashed a tremendous power in nature, a form of cataclysm which became necessary because civilization in the past would not heed the warnings that went forth. Therefore, we sound forth tonight the edict that unless mankind shall change and correct and mend some of the terrible flaws now existent in society, certainly the elementals will be unable to hold back the tide of human creation which now stands behind them, held in the name of cosmic mercy. Do not be surprised nor affrighted by that which comes forth then upon the earth. And if you wish to give your energies to try to stop it, that is your privilege. But I think that what the Karmic Board would like to have you do shall now be made known to you. We desire that those who have formerly given their energies for the protection of mankind and for the holding back of cataclysmic action shall now turn their total attention upon the masquerades which mankind have put around themselves, the human creation which they have builded around themselves to protect themselves against spiritual power. We desire that you shall call for the walls of Jericho of human creation to fall down. We desire that you shall call for mankind to become illumined to the spiritual power that is now rising today to great cosmic heights upon this planet and is responsible for many conditions which mankind do not understand, because mankind are not accepting that spiritual power but are rejecting it. It is breaking out in all sorts of disturbances upon this planet. When you call, therefore, solemnly to Almighty God for a removal of the cause and core of mankind's recalcitrant and rebellious attitude to the Spirit of Almighty God, you will be doing the specific thing which we have decided now should be done. It is not essential to stop the action of cataclysm or world disturbances. It is rather to call for an awakening of mankind, which is really putting the horse before the cart, blessed ones, and will produce, if mankind will accept it, their deliverance from the karmic retribution which otherwise will descend upon them. This is inevitable. You cannot stop it. The only way you can stop it is by mankind's acceptance of the law. It is the law of love. It is love that is pouring out to mankind, and it is love that desires to not continue a perpetual round of physical embodiments without serving cosmic purpose and bringing mankind their freedom. In the holy name of heaven, blessed ones, shall this thing continue forever, and shall mankind forever ignore their Creator? Did not the word sound forth of old, remember thy Creator in the days of thy youth, when thy years fail not? Then know that the power of the Karmic Board is a wise decision. I personally voted for it, and I would vote for it again. And we have the backing not only of the mankind upon this planet, but of other systems of worlds that we have consulted. And great cosmic emissaries of light have come out to us from the Pleiades, and a petition was presented to Alpha and Omega by Helios and Vesta, which demanded action because of mankind's ignorance of the law. This is a solemn moment, and I am calling this to your attention so that you will recognize that there is something that you can do, and that is to continue to call for the awakening of mankind. Let these signs appear. Let these signs manifest. Do not try to stop them. Let them come, because they represent hope to the world. They represent hope for mankind's awakening. All of the evolutions of the earth, now an embodiment, blessed ones, would in less than 100 years have practically disappeared from the screen of life. Therefore, you see what is really important on this great cosmic cusp, when the age of Aquarius is breaking forth into the world of form, is to have a spiritual awakening as never before has swept across this planet. We have tried it by divine love. We have poured divine love from our octave in such measure as you will never know until you are ascended. Yet that love has not been received to stir but a small segment of the population. What then are we to do? To permit this generation to perish? To permit its progeny to worsen? To permit corruption to increase? To permit distortion to expand? I think not. And therefore the lords of karma have acted in cosmic concord, and they have rendered their decision. And that decision includes the sounding forth here in the city of the angels of the warning of God to the mankind of this earth that the solemn moment has come when light demands that darkness shall relinquish its hold upon people, when light demands that shadow shall cease to hold sway, when light demands that witchcraft shall be contained, when light demands that variance shall cease, when light demands that righteousness shall increase, when light demands that the optimum of man's life, the gift of freedom, shall be appropriated in the name of Almighty God and used for a constructive purpose. What purpose is served in war? What purpose is served in expanding horror in the world? What purpose is served by lust? What purpose is served by corruption and immorality? What purpose is served by hate? Can hate produce love? Will hate produce happiness? Will a negative vibration produce beauty? I think not. You know these things, but happy are ye if ye do them. You are the children of the light. And yet I tell you that there have been many in this city who have come to one dictation and not another. They have come to this class and attended a dictation, and in some cases there were reasons why they could not come or thought they could not. But I want to call to your attention that other individuals were free and able to come but did not. What then does this mean? It means that we as cosmic beings, as immortal sponsors of your life's energies, must go before the Karmic Board and say, they care but a little. They do not care enough. We today have taken our energy from cosmic realms. We have prepared our words. We have prepared our feelings. We have prepared our radiation. We have determined to effect a certain result. We know that will is given to you, and that will is yet free. We cannot compel you to accept our words or our ideas, nor the edict of the Karmic Board. If you have your own opinion and it differs from ours, it does not matter one whit, for we have told the truth to mankind, even as we have told the truth in previous releases. But we are telling you now that there is no more time from tonight on, for the edict at midnight tonight goes into effect, and already the howl of the elements is sounding across the world. For they know that soon the bands of restraint shall be cut, and then you may make your calls for the awakening of mankind. I happen to know that the day will come when some of you who for a moment are slightly awesome and fear-struck by my release will understand that it was the best thing that ever happened to mankind. Remember something, blessed ones, whom God loveth, he chasteneth, and he scourgeth every son that he receiveth. There is a cosmic purpose in this, and the purpose is the awakening of a world now gone mad. Upon this world today, there are numerous gray heads who have served our cause for a long time, giving forth and pouring their energy of love to the world. The results have been puny through no fault of their own. They have been puny because of mankind's rejection of the law. Now let the law take its toll, and let cosmic activity come to the world as never before. Truly, O earth, mene, tekel, a person. Thou art weighed in the balances, and thou art found wanting cosmically. Emit more light, or stand the consequences. El Morya has come into the room and said to me, with a smile upon his often somber face, "Beloved great divine director, you have given them truth or consequences." I thank you.